Welcome to the I Told You So podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Kohl. I started this podcast because I noticed an erosion of societal discourse and how normal conversations are often fueled by polarization. The I Told You So podcast offers an opportunity for healthy discourse and effective discussions. I select topics to discuss with listeners and guests of the I Told You So podcast. Listeners and guests predict what will happen in the future. I track those predictions and announce who predicted accurately when those predictions become true. The podcast offers topics where listeners and guests can participate in discussions with the goal of predicting the future so they can proudly say, I told you so. My guest for this episode is Ryan Seematter. Ryan Seematter is a professional growth and development coach and the founder of Grown Up Job. Ryan helps young professionals in high school, college, and recent college graduates feel more confident, courageous, and comfortable in their new professional roles. Ryan embraces authenticity, vulnerability, and building trust through his best-in-class career onboarding coaching. Ryan's philosophy in life is to meet everyone where they're at, to stay humble, and to engage in meaningful conversations. Ryan has a proven track record of growing and enhancing the soft skills of the next generation of future leaders. On this episode, Ryan Seematter and I discuss the future of mentoring. Ryan, thanks so much for being a guest on the I Told You So podcast. Let me start by asking you this. How do you build trust with your coaching clients and mentees?
Thank you, Ben. That's a really good question. And it really starts with meeting them where they're at in life. As you mentioned earlier, it's all about hearing their story, meeting them professionally where they want to be in life, also learning more about where they want to grow professionally. That's paramount to everything. I think you have to take that approach of listen more, talk less, have a genuine coaching conversation with them. And then one thing that I'm really paramount about in my coaching approach is never being too big for a conversation. It doesn't matter if I've advanced in years of service, if I've advanced title alone, or if I feel like I figured everything out when it comes to work. One of the things that's really, really awesome is to say that I can never graduate from a conversation. I can meet them truly where they're at and have a conversation at their level, not above or below that level.
Yeah, for those on the fence, your clients, your mentees, I would guess, uh, what is the value of mentorship to them?
For them, it's really engaging in conversation, getting to know them on a deeper level, and really, like we mentioned earlier, being authentic and vulnerable. We have so many challenges in life, and they're going through so many things. And one thing that I really focus on too is empathy. You see them in their journey, whether they're new to their career or they're experiencing their career, they're learning so much as they go along, but they're also challenged by personal life things, professional life things. And one key question that I ask every time I start a coaching conversation is, even if we have a certain agenda that we need to set up for that meeting, or if we're planning to talk about topics 1, 2, and 3, I always make sure to ask that question of what's most front of mind for you? Because if you don't get past that thing that's front of mind for them, it's going to be swirling in their heads so long. It's going to be taking over their mindset. They may be present in terms of what topic you're going to be addressing, but they definitely will not be able to engage as much because they'll have something in their head that's maybe more front of mind and they want to talk through. So if you take that approach and talk about that first thing, and then also make sure that they feel that they're in a comfortable environment, that really sets the stage for success when it comes to coaching. I think really, when I think about just the coaching approach that I also adapt to is listening with the intent to truly understand versus listening with the intent to respond. So we talked in that last point about thinking really deeply of listening more than you speak. And you can actively listen, but sometimes you don't hear what's being said. You respond and say, I'm responding to answer your question, but not really responding to show empathy. You really have to listen with the intent of understanding versus listening with the intent to respond. I think that goes a long way with coaching clients because they truly value that you mean the world to them, that they're on their best pace in terms of growth and development, and that you really understand what they're coming up with and that they're coming up with their challenges. And I really think that a personal advocate is having somebody as a coach, somebody that's going to walk that journey that's already been a few miles ahead of you. So when we think about coaching, mentoring, anything that goes in that approach, somebody's already been those miles ahead of you. They've already been through those experiences and those challenges. they're there to help you, and they're there to support you, to be those guardrails for you, to give you an indication of what to watch out for. And then I really think that empathy again comes back into play, because you can understand somebody, but unless you truly empathize with them, you're not going to get truly to the heart of the matter of what is most on their mind. And one thing that I really also think on, and we think about the future, since we are talking about future focus today, one of the research items I've seen is that Gen Z and Gen Alpha really value connection and building relationships. So I think in the future, the value of mentorship will grow exponentially, because these generations really crave that connection. They crave that in-person connection. They crave learning from others. They crave having those conversations from somebody that truly understands them. You'd be surprised from a coaching conversation, if you'd have one for 30 minutes, for an hour, the amount of thankfulness and gratitude that a coaching client has from you or for you after that hour conversation, because you truly understand them. You let them talk more than you did in that situation. And they also feel like they're valued. They have that experience. They feel so much better after the conversation. And it feels like you truly get them. So that's super important to me, is that I know in the future, I think there's going to be a lot more relationship building expected from Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And the future will tell if that's going to be true or not, but I really do believe in that one.
How do you know you've been successful as a mentor?
That's a really good question. I think from a mentoring perspective, you see those light bulb moments within your mentees. You see them come to a conclusion or come to an indication of a success moment without you even acknowledging it. They come to you and say, wow, I can't believe I did this. I surprised myself. That's the key to a mentorship, is giving them those moments where they truly surprise themselves. You can see as a mentor that they have the talent, the skills, and abilities inside of them. You can see that they're going to be successful. They don't see it yet, but when they have those light bulb moments and come to you, have that praise, that gratitude, that moment of understanding where they've surprised themselves, that is the biggest moment in the world as a mentor. It helps you to give back in the most strongest ways in life. And it helps you to know that you've gained so much clarity and that you've helped somebody along their journey. I think you also measure this by the level of engagement. So how much they reach out to you versus how much you reach out to them. As a mentor, I always make it a point to stay consistent with my reach outs, make sure that they know that they can text anytime, they can email anytime, they can truly reach out anytime that they need to. And I'll make it a point every couple of weeks to reach out, say, hey, how are you doing? What do you need from me? Sometimes the answer is, I don't need anything. I'm good right now, but thank you for checking in. As you get into the mentorship a little bit longer, you're going to notice that your mentee will start reaching out to you and saying, hey, I have this thing to share. I have this question. And that's the moment that you know that you've been able to give back in a positive way. One thing you mentioned earlier too was the authenticity, vulnerability, genuineness. People can see that right away. With your mentee, it's all about building trust. They can tell if you're genuine. They can tell if you're authentic right away. You can't work your way around that one. If you're not being authentic, you're not being genuine, that trust is going to go away. They're not going to share anything that's on their mind. They're going to keep it pretty PC, and they may not be able to open up as much to you. So make sure that you're being authentic, you're being vulnerable, you're being genuine, because they can see past that. And I've seen that in my life too. When I meet people, within the first 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe even first 2 minutes, you can tell if somebody truly is, one, being genuine, two, wants to take care of you and really show a lot of appreciation for you. And then three, are they going to be somebody that's going to be an advocate for you, which is all about mentorship, is that advocacy, having somebody in your corner that can really advocate for you and also give you those skills, those lessons, those mentalities to truly grow. I think the other part that I think about when it's being successful as a mentor is leaving a mentorship better than when you took it on. So true servant leadership. I'm a big believer in servant leadership, in that you have to be bigger than anyone else. And with servant leadership, it's all about doing things that you would expect yourself to do, not going above the line or below the line with that. Really thinking about, as a mentee, when I'm professing all of my true knowledge their way, it's, have I made an impact on them? Have I left this mentorship better than when I took it on? What kind of light bulb moments did they have? Sometimes they'll share those. Sometimes they'll share those indirectly. You'll see those moments. But I really do believe that your job in life is to be authentic. It's to give back through mentorship. And it's also to really make sure that they are in the best spot possible when you leave that mentorship. Sometimes it turns into an informal mentorship. And those are the best times of mentorships that you have, is that when they ask you, hey, can we continue this mentorship, even though it's not formal anymore? They give you so much praise. You give so much feedback from them, and you feel like you've been able to share a common purpose. And then I think about the future of mentorship when you're being successful. I think success is going to be measured by how relatable you are, how much you empower your mentees to take the reins, and really through a sense of life accomplishments, and not necessarily true career success. we always think about that we're socialized in life to have true career success. And so we have to get a mentorship, we have to get a job, we have to do all the things that society expects of us. But what if we turn that corner and said in the future, mentorship would be what you make of it? It's life accomplishments. It's all about learning more about yourself. It's learning more about yourself within that journey. And also being able to say, I had this accomplishment and it wasn't necessarily career focused. It was maybe life focused. And I'm able to pay that forward and be a mentor after my mentee or after my mentor has passed that along to me as a mentee. So I think in the future, we're going to have a lot more relatedness, a lot more connectedness, and people are going to truly value mentorships, but not for the reason you think of, not for the reason that I'm connected with a mentor because I want to get a job or I want to be super successful in life or I want to grow the corporate ladder. There's a place for that. And there are times where you need that in life. But I really do think that this next generation coming up, and then also Gen Alpha, is going to value life more than they are the career side of it and value that flexibility, that work-life balance. Just having a mentor or a mentee that truly gets them. It's not scripted. It's not ever on the agenda, off the agenda. Just somebody that has a conversation with them. And I think about mentorship truly as a conversation. You get to know them, they get to know you, and you continue that conversation. And if you make it more of a conversation, you will get so much more value out of that mentorship, and you will get so much more buyback from your mentee in terms of trust, vulnerability, authenticity. So that's kind of what I think about in terms of the future of mentorship. And I know there's so much more that's out there, so much more that we haven't even touched on. I really do value mentorship, and it's my passion in life, and I love giving back to others.
So, how do you adapt to the changing landscape of the workplace?
I think about a lot of things with the changing landscape of the workplace. We went through our pandemic period where we were all in person 2019, 2020, 2021. And even beyond that, we were in a virtual landscape. One thing I challenged myself in that virtual landscape is I was working from home solely for 2 years without any connection to the outside world or in-person connection to the outside world. One thing that I made a point to is for myself, is to learn virtual networking and also learn virtual capacities of communication. I knew that in-person connection was going to be taken away in some capacity or in a full capacity. So I challenged myself to not only get to know the technology, be comfortable on screen. And I will say it wasn't all smooth. There were some challenges or some bumps in the road where you see yourself on the screen all the time. You wonder, are you saying the right things? Are you making an impact? What I challenged myself with was once a week during the pandemic was connecting with somebody new virtually or connecting with somebody that I wanted to reconnect virtually from work capacity, also from a personal capacity, to one, just have a conversation, sit down for 30 minutes, talk with them about their life. They talk to me about my life. And it made me, one, feel more comfortable with virtual connection, but also reassured me that even in this new world that we have, where it's virtual, it's hybrid, it's in person, that we can still make the most of a connection virtually. I've had so many times where I've had virtual conversations, virtual mentoring conversations that have been not only in person, but also the hybrid mode where one person's in person, one person's virtual. The amount of feedback that you get from that, where they feel like they're truly supported, you get them, they get that feeling of that they are being seen and heard. I think mentorship can still happen, whether it's in person or it's virtual. Virtual does take a little bit more because you don't have that in-person sensing and feeling functionality that comes through with it. But I think it's all about the nonverbal communication side of things. You can definitely tell with empathy, with understanding, when you're having the virtual conversation with your mentee, that whether they're responding in a different way or maybe they're acting in a different way, or you can see through a verbal or nonverbal cue, you can still key in and show empathy and also truly get to know them from a virtual landscape. But I think that will change a little bit in that dynamic. But I also know that whether it's virtual or in-person, mentoring is going to be a very popular thing for people to not only get to know others, to network, but also feel like somebody else is out there. I go back to the philosophy of in life of when you connect with somebody, when you have a conversation, you take an interest in them, you may be the only person that asks that question of them all day. You may also be the only person that says hi to them, asks them about their day, or ask them to grab a virtual coffee for 30 minutes. It's still connection regardless of that. And people are looking for that opportunity to be seen and heard and truly be seen and heard. So you never know, having that conversation, you may be the one person that impacts them that day, or maybe something that you said in that conversation may impact them to have a more positive viewpoint on life, or it may be the one time that they talk to somebody virtually that entire day. And that can also be in person. But I think mentoring is that way to give back and help people feel that they're special, they're included, they're valued overall. And I do think the changing work landscape will still be adjusted, but also something that will help you to continue to stay connected. And we could be connected across the world in the same room, in the same city, the state. But I think this really steps it up a lot to be able to have conversations that are even more than just the closer conversations. They can have a lot of conversations that you would never have before with this new adaptable environment.
So Ryan, I'm interested in Grown Up Job. I know you have a business called Grown Up Job, and that's Grown Up Job, all one word, .com, grownupjob.com. So I'd like you to maybe tell the listeners a little bit more about that and maybe why you started it and yeah, just your experience with the grownupjob.com business.
Thank you, Ben. Grown up job is something that as soon as you say that word, I get the biggest smile on my face because it has been a journey for me. I started this company about 5 years ago, and it all came around the process of, for me, realizing that I really enjoy mentoring. I also enjoy coaching. And then thinking back, how can I give back both locally? How can I give back even within the United States, internationally, and give people coaching conversations that can help them grow, help them learn all about what they're doing in life, and also give them that ounce of encouragement, be a personal cheerleader for them. I will say it's been a challenge that when you think about just starting a business, learning all the ins and outs of starting a business and entrepreneurship. And I can tell you that going through that whole process of trademarking a business name, making a website, putting information out there, marketing, it gave me the most confidence in the world. It gave me the biggest confidence boost that I've ever had in my life. And it's been really cool. And I can almost consider Grown Up Job as one of my kids because it's something that I've taken on and I've truly put all my heart, my sweat, and my tears into it because it is something that you put a pride of ownership into. And when we think about just coaching in general, a couple of things that I do. One is definitely the general part of resume review, interview prep. I also help you do a pre-boarding. It's almost like pre-boarding for a plane that you are getting ready for a job search. Give you those tools, those abilities, that confidence to enter a job search. And one thing that I'm really excited about is a new offering that I've started with my business is, let's say you're starting a new job. You're new to the job world. You're new to the working world. You're new to all the coworkers that are around you. You need that independent advocate to be a sounding board for you, to give you that inspiration, to also give you that encouragement. So anytime you're starting a job, if you're right out of college, if you're a recent grad, or if you're even an experienced professional, you're starting a new job. I'm there to walk with you that entire journey for the first 90 days, to have those conversations that you're not really ready to have with your manager, answer the questions that maybe you're not going to be ready to ask your coworkers yet. And then also be that cheerleader to cheer you on as you start that position. Because I found that as you onboard to a new position, so many questions and maybe not enough time in the day. You also have imposter syndrome. You also have times where you fear your abilities. You fear that you can even get the job done. You start to question everything in life. And you need that person to come and reassure you. And so I'm here to be that advocate for you as you start a new position, but also be there pre-search as you're getting ready for the job search. And I found my passion has really been in helping others and selflessly giving back. And so from a coaching perspective, anytime you have coaching needs, reach out to me and we can talk. We can set up a plan for you. We can also help you along that journey. And I have my pledge to give you that positive inspiration day in and day out. Grown Up Job is something that I'm truly proud of. I continue to be proud of today. And I'm proud of what we're going to do in the future. And that continues to be a lot of different service offerings, a lot of people to help, and adding to that list of people that I can say have gainfully added a lot of inspiration to their life and also been successful in their life. As you mentioned earlier, we're growing those future leaders of tomorrow. And it starts with those that are in high school, college, recent grads, experienced professionals. All of those are our future leaders. And I'm there to help them along the journey. And Grown Up Job is that way that I truly want to help them and give back to them.
All right. Well, Ryan, really appreciate all your thoughts on coaching and mentorship and how important it is. Definitely something I can tell you're very passionate about. So thanks again for being a guest on the I Told You So podcast. So if listeners do want to learn more, you can find Ryan on Instagram, and that's his name, Ryan Seematter. That's all one word, RyanSeematter. And so you can also email him at ryan.seematter@gmail.com. And lastly, just like Ryan mentioned, Grown Up Job, that's grownupjob.com. You can visit his website there. And if you're interested in maybe participating in the process that Ryan so eloquently talked about, go ahead and reach out to him and say, hey, I'm interested in what you offer through grownupjob.com. So because this podcast is about predicting the future, my questions to those listening are, how will mentors and mentees establish trust both in person and virtually amongst a social media driven generation? And what specific mentor qualities will mentees look for in the future? And will future mentorships establish a new baseline of expectations, or will mentorship lean on the tried and true methods that have gotten us to where we are today? So I'd love to know. Please let me know. You can text or call me at 785-473-3721 or send an email message to me at ITYS at BenKohlITYS.com or post on any of my social media channels. So I do ask you to go to the I Told You So podcast website at BenKohlITYS.com, and that's my name, BenKohlITYS.com. You can go there to connect, and you can get your own I Told You So items at the merchandise links. You can get shirts and hats and hoodies and coffee mugs like I was drinking here. You can get that too. So the I Told You So podcast is a space for healthy discourse and effective discussions with the goal of predicting the future so you can proudly say, I told you so. Also, if your business or organization is interested in advertising on the I Told You So podcast, please let me know that too. So thanks again for tuning in to the I Told You So podcast. And thanks to my guest, Ryan Seematter. Followers of the podcast are very important, so please follow, like, subscribe, leave a comment, give a high rating, and share with your friends. I'm your host, Dr. Ben Kohl, and I hope to hear from you soon.